Well, hello everybody, welcome back into the Color Gemstone Academy. I am your instructor, Paul Deasy. This is my YouTube channel, Paul Deasy Gemstones. Now, if you've not done so as of yet, we have over 1,200 subscribers, and I want to thank each and every one of you who have subscribed. If you have not done so, please hit that subscribe button. I know it says subscribe, but it is absolutely free. That's no cost to you whatsoever. And hit the like button if you would as well. Well, this is going to be, this week, episode 9 of my question and answer series. I do that every Wednesday at 5 p.m. and this Wednesday is no exception. So the idea behind this, I do get a lot of questions from you in comments on the YouTube channel, and I like to answer them because some of you might have the same questions. So they will live there forever if you ever want to look up some frequently asked questions. Okay, this next one comes in, of course I have to read them, so bear with me. Rob R. And this is from episode 8, Sleeping Beauty Turquoise, and he says, "Hi Paul, I have 3 turquoise cabochons that I was given for free with jeweler's tools I purchased 12 years ago from the wife of a deceased jeweler. I thought they were too perfect, so it had to be dyed howlite, but finally I tested them and they are real. How would I go about trying to work out what mine they might be from? They are beautiful robin's egg blue with the slightest of quartz inclusions. Cheers," from Rob. Well, first of all, Rob, because you said cheers, I deduce that you're probably from the United Kingdom, or at least one of the British Empire territories. Not only because you said cheers, but you spelled jeweler with 2 L's. And I make a comment in my book about how we spell it differently than you guys do there across the pond. Well, the easiest answer, which would also be probably the laziest answer, would be to assume that it's Sleeping Beauty turquoise because of the robin's egg blue color. Unfortunately, that would also be very incorrect to just assume that it comes from the Sleeping Beauty mine, because the Sleeping Beauty mine isn't the only gem mine, turquoise mine in the world that ever produced a robin's egg blue color with virtually no visible inclusions. In fact, the Persian turquoise mines thousands of years ago produced quite a bit of that perfect robin's egg blue color. Another example would be the Kingman mine in Golden Valley, Arizona, just north of Kingman, Arizona. And I have seen and sold many specimens from the Kingman mine that did a pretty darn good job of replicating the perfect Sleeping Beauty turquoise. To make matters even more confusing, while a testing lab can determine whether a turquoise is real or not, or whether a turquoise has been stabilized or not, they really can't determine where on earth that turquoise came from. Certainly there's sometimes trace elements when you're studying gemstones that are dead giveaway, like the emeralds that come out of Colombia versus emeralds from other places, because certain trace elements will give it away. But nobody, no testing lab, not even the Gemological Institute of America, can determine the provenance of a turquoise and where it came from. So the best advice I can give you is that you have to sort of trust your source when you're buying turquoise. For example, when I've sold robin's egg blue turquoise from Kingman, I always disclose, no, this is not from the Sleeping Beauty mine, it came from Kingman. So I always say, first of all, you have to have a source that you can trust. Now, all that being said, there's good news. You have 3 spectacular cabochons of robin's egg blue turquoise, and I suspect very valuable robin's egg blue turquoise. So regardless of where it came from, you have that going for you. The other thing that I would probably, if I were going to make an educated guess, there's a good chance it would be either the Sleeping Beauty turquoise or the Persian turquoise. And I suspect that the widow of that jeweler that you bought the tools from probably didn't care much for turquoise, so she just decided to throw it in with the deal. So the way that I would just look at that is, thank goodness it is her loss and your gain. But a great question, Robert, nonetheless. Okay, so our next question today comes from Sarma L. He's asked some questions in the past. He usually has good ones. He was watching episode 43, which was on lapis. And he says, insightful video, kindly discuss how mines separate gem quality stones from mineral or matrix pieces such as amethyst, tourmaline, ammonite, etc. All right, yes, Sarma, another great question. In the case, well, let me first talk in generalities. When you go to a show like the Tucson Gem Show in Tucson, Arizona, there's various ways that you can buy gemstones. Now, most of the miners are going to sort of grade the material like an A grade, B grade, C grade, and the price is going to reflect that because they know what gathers more money. Another thing that I think that you need to know about is, I'll give you an example. When I'm shopping for Larimar at the show, you could either look at boxes or even barrels of rough, and there would be one price if you're going to take all of that rough. I did that in the case of a proprietary gem that I looked at. I bought like 3,000 pounds, and my cost per pound was actually very low because I bought it all. And the same happens with like Larimar. If you're looking for like a bucket of Larimar, it might have just a bunch of boulders in there, and you buy it all, you get a really good price, but you really don't know what you're going to get. Now, another way that they sell it sometimes, they'll have pre-cut slabs like this. And when they pre-cut the slab, you can see the color, you can see any of the imperfections that are in there and know where to cut around it. But you're going to pay a much higher price when you get something that has been sort of pre-sorted for you. In the case of amethyst, since you specifically asked about that, when we were at the mine, we went directly from the mine to a cutting factory. And the interesting thing about that, when you look at all of those geodes, and there are hundreds of geodes, you can go to any gem show in the world and buy them, ornamental. I don't know if you probably can't see this one. You see the very tippy top of that one, and that's a geode that I bought. The truth is most of those geodes don't really have gems that are going to make it into an amethyst that's going to make it into a piece of jewelry. They're more for ornamental purposes. In fact, all of those geodes that they find in the mines, maybe the top 3 or 4% will only produce gem quality amethyst. But understand that the miners know what they're doing. They're going to pre-sort them and put them in the range of A grade, B grade, C grade, and so on. But you can always get a little bit better deal if you're willing to take a chance in buying the lot. I hope that answers your question. Okay, our next question this week comes from House Slave 1001. I said before, I think he asked a question in the past. It must have something to do with COVID and we're all stuck in our houses. Anyway, he was watching episode 7, which is part 4 of the 4 C's, which is carat weight. He said, I'm thoroughly enjoying your presentations. Thank you very much, Paul. Well, you are quite welcome, and anytime you have any questions about specific gems, I'm your guy. Another great subscriber by the name of Tommy L., and he was watching episode 51, the Spessartine Garnet. He says, it's the one stone I want in a ring or bracelet. Yep, I'm a January guy. Great show again, Paul. For those of you that don't know, Tommy is a gem collector, and he also born in the month of January. So thank you for that comment, Tommy. And, I like this one. This is Om Mani, and he asks from watching this episode 22, which was Kingman Turquoise. Said, I appreciate seeing the mining operations, the operators, and how the workers are doing. Besides being interesting, it helps me see my purchases support these folks who make a living. As always, I'm grateful for your sharing your knowledge and expertise. Well, I really wanted to put that comment up there because a lot of people don't realize what goes into the mining process, and especially in the United States of America, like the Kingman mine. It's more expensive and more difficult to mine here than anywhere else in the world. And the other thing that you can't fathom is whether it was mines in Australia when I went to the opal mines, various turquoise mines all over the United States. It's very, very rare. They can work for days or even weeks at a time without striking anything. And so once they do strike some material, that's like a good payday for everybody. And you're right, it's great that we can support these people who are working at the mines. So it was a great question, and I'm glad I could share that with you. Okay, I think I'm going to make this the final question of this episode of the Q&A series, questions and answers. I like to keep these a little bit more brief because we don't have to get into the weeds of all of the ins and outs of the gemstones. But this was a great question, and I wanted to answer this. This will be the last one for today. Andrea H. was watching episode 5 of the Q&A series, and she says, okay, Rainbow Calsilica, is it a real gem? I check the internet, and it just confuses me. Well, I can certainly understand what you're going through, because the internet can be very confusing, and you get a lot of different opinions. But let not your heart be troubled. I have the answer for you, and it's an easy one. The short answer is no. It's not a real gemstone. I remember seeing it for the first time. It was about probably 10 or 15 years ago at the Tucson Gem Show. Beautiful rainbow colors. Just a really, really pretty, would make a pretty piece of jewelry. So basically, it's nice to look at. It would make a nice piece of costume jewelry as long as you're not trying to pass it off as something that it is not. It has been analyzed by many, many respected gem labs over the years, and the conclusion is that it is a stew, an artificial collection of sedimentary man-made rock and some different elements, some of which they're all laboratory created, but some of which are actually from things that are real in nature, and some that never have been used in nature. So it's a man-made variety of pigments, polymers, resins, calcite, and other components not created in nature. I know I have explained in past lessons about laboratory created gems, but not everything that's created in a laboratory is necessarily a gemstone. For example, if I talk about the Chatham emeralds, that has all the same physical, chemical, and optical properties that make up an emerald. The difference is, instead of forming over billions of years, which it took an emerald to form, they can do it in a matter of months in a controlled laboratory situation. So in this case, nothing like this has ever been created in nature. And they took little liberties with things that like created sedimentary rock. But other than that, just a nice piece of costume jewelry, enjoy it for what it is, and don't overpay for it. Does the person who's selling it? Yes, they have a right to, they have a responsibility to disclose that this is not really a gemstone. Unfortunately, people are trying to pass it off as something that is a natural gemstone, and they even say, hey, here's a mine where it came from. Not true. So that is disingenuous at best, but by not disclosing that it is not really a natural gem or even a laboratory created gem, it is actually illegal to do that. So I hope that that answers your question. And keep those questions coming. I love them, guys. Remember, if you've not subscribed yet, please hit subscribe. It costs you nothing, but it really helps me continue to do these lessons for you. I will see you next Wednesday at the same time, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, for more of your questions and answers. Thanks for watching, everybody.